blown out by the Bills. Third straight loss for the Patriots. First losing season in years. He's got no quarterback, no Gronk. He's got no sleeves. I get all of it. But Tom Brady can't call him in the middle of a game. Brady, you can't be doing that. It's not right. It's like if you get divorced and then you go on to marry a beautiful woman and then she FaceTimes your ex while he's at work having a bad day. It's not right. Even I know that something like that is not right. So Brady, stop calling. He's already got enough on his plate. And in this scenario, I'm for Bill Belichick. All right. Let us head to Washington, where they can make the playoffs with a win over the Eagles on Sunday, right? So we know all that. So you can imagine it was a bit of a shock yesterday when the team announced the release of former first-round pick Dwayne Haskins. The 23-year-old never found his way with Washington on the field while causing quite a few distractions. Off of it, it's not a good mix, especially for a Ron Rivera-led team so intent on building a winning culture there. Haskins knows he blew an incredible opportunity, tweeting this: "I take full responsibility for not meeting the standards of an NFL quarterback and will become a better man and player because of this experience." What I always say is you get one chance, and this league, you don't know, you may not get another. But Nick, you surprised Washington released Haskins 2 years after drafting him 15th overall.
No, and he obviously did this to himself, but I think there's... First, I have to own up to something, and then we have to have, I think, a more important conversation than the one about Dwayne Haskins. What I have to own up to is I'm always on this show saying my lifelong dream one day is to run an NFL or an NBA team. If I am ever to realize the dream of running an NFL team, future boss, don't let me pick the college quarterbacks, because I'm historically bad at it. I thought Rosen was going to be awesome. I thought Haskins fell too far in the draft. I wanted Watson over Mahomes. I'm just awful at the college to pro projection. So when I get that job, don't let me handle it, because I was way off on Haskins. Now to more serious issues. I was watching the pregame show Monday Night Football yesterday, and I like Booger McFarland a lot. And I think he's a sharp guy, and I think he's been subjected to somewhat unfair scrutiny over the last few years. With that said, I thought he said something yesterday that then started a conversation that was reckless and unfair. And it was that Dwayne Haskins, his failure, is almost a microcosm, not of the failure of the young athlete, but the failure of the young black athlete, and that there is something specific to the pathologies, if you will, of young black athletes that make them more likely to fall in love with the trappings of fame and fortune rather than the hard work that you need to put in order to keep that fame and fortune. And the problem with that take, even though it's a very popular one across all demographics and a lot of circles, the pathologies of the black athlete, is that it's based in no history whatsoever. It's based in no data whatsoever, and it is a toxic thing to perpetuate. If we look at the last half decade of quarterbacks drafted in the NFL, the biggest successes, most of them are black. Who are the guys you know are hits? Mahomes, Watson, Lamar, Josh Allen. I think we can say this point's a hit. He's not black. Kyler sure appears to be a hit. Justin Herbert, I think, is going to be a hit. That's what, 3 of the 5 guys I listed? Who are the biggest busts? Mitch Trubisky. He's as white as I am. Josh Rosen. He doesn't seem to be working out. Obviously, Haskins falls in that bucket as well. And who are the quarterbacks that we would say, well, part of their issue was they didn't put the work in? Well, that's Johnny Manziel. Or they're too focused on their brand. Well, some would say that's Baker Mayfield. Those guys are white guys. So this idea that we've got an issue not with young people being, caught up with the gram, but with young black people being caught up with the gram is not based in any fact whatsoever. And I just think it's dangerous, and I almost want to say irresponsible, to perpetuate that narrative, because so many people believe it. So many people take it as a fact that you're lucky when you get a Russell Wilson, one of the good ones, as opposed to being like, well, what are we talking about here? And so I think Haskins did this to himself, but I also think some of the conversation surrounding it is really, really unfortunate, Brandon.
Yeah, and Nick, everything you said is on point, and that's why I'm so disappointed in Haskins, because in the past, we've been having these conversations in a vacuum, right, around the black quarterback, around the black athlete. But I really want to focus on the black quarterback right now. So in the past, that's all we've been talking about, right? We're trying to fight that these are isolated situations. Every guy is different. We can't just put white quarterbacks in a box, and we can't put black quarterbacks in a box. So when I look at Dwayne Haskins, there's two things that jump out to me, right? One, the reports coming out of him breaking COVID-19 protocols. Everybody has a different viewpoint when it comes to COVID-19. I understand that. But when you have Ron Rivera that just went through one of his last rounds of treatment for cancer in one of his lymph nodes, that's a problem, right? We're talking about the elderly. We're talking about the sickly. We're talking about people who are fighting for their lives, that how we need to protect them. And you come into the facility, you come into the locker room, and you make those boneheaded mistakes. That is irresponsible, and I'm shocked that they didn't cut this guy a couple weeks ago. I would have cut him then. But now on the football side, everything that you talked about, Nick, the things that I'm talking about with the black quarterback, you got Dak Prescott, you got Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson's fighting still for this right now. Who else do we have? We have
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson is another name. These guys have fought so hard to break the stigma around the black quarterback, and you are a guy that is playing into the stigma. Not because you're not capable, because you're lazy, because you don't want to be a pro. You are a guy who can't simply read cover 3. You are a guy who can't read cover 4. That's the fundamentals. Cover 4. We have 3-by-1 over here. This is my one-on-one side. This is my zone side. If it's cover 4, this is where I go with the ball. Boom, boom, boom. Like, that's how simple football is. But you refuse to do the work. You rather go to a strip club and do those other things and destroy the work that these guys, the Patrick Mahomes of the world, the Russell Wilsons of the world, have done in the last 10 years to get the black quarterback in this position. So those are my two issues when it comes to this kid. Now, you know, we can push the conversation forward, Wilds, but right now I'm disappointed, and I'm not surprised that they cut this guy.
All right, so, Brandon, I have a simple question. Is a 23-year-old guy allowed to screw up? Because you've seen, like, no one's perfect in the league or in life in general. So is he allowed to screw? I think having the conversation of, and maybe that's part of being the quarterback or being a black quarterback, that you have less margin for error because of systemic issues in society. But what's the line if you were the GM, and what's the difference between, hey, I screwed up, I'm sorry, I'm going to be better, versus, you know what, you screwed up, I don't care if you're going to be better, you're going to be better on another team. Where's that line?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm a guy sitting in this seat today that got a second chance, right? So I'm the last guy to talk about, can guys screw up? 100% you can. But here's the issue. Let's talk about football first. When it comes to football, you have to do your job. You get paid to read cover 4. You get paid to read cover 3. It's your job to know if it's cover 4, then I'm working this side of the field. Here's my first read, my second read, my third read. He's not putting in the work to do that. I don't think it's a problem with his mental capacity. It's about his work ethic, his attention to detail. So that's one. Number two, you don't want guys to make boneheaded mistakes over and over and over and over again. The reports that's coming out, that's just what we know. Who knows what else is going on? But the issue around this global pandemic, when the world, for the very first time, everybody